Hey, this is Michael with the Oldham team here again today with our Market of the Moment update for the week of September 20th. Got Chris Madrid with me today from Guaranteed Rate.
Hey.
And got Ryanb Shafer, which serves the Tarrant County market, bringing him on today. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're just going to do our usual weekly thing. Going to catch up on the market real quick and catch up on current trends in the mortgage industry. Let Chris tell us kind of where that's trending. Going to talk a little bit about the cost of waiting to buy today, and then we'll get into our real estate stats. So Ryan, why don't you go ahead and mute, and that way we don't interrupt on Chris's. I'm going to mute too. So go ahead, Chris, take it away. Chris,
yeah,
Guaranteed Rate.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we got, obviously we got some very, very important news yesterday from the Fed. Essentially there's, always a bunch of stuff that comes out. The biggest takeaway from what we heard is they did officially come on and say that they're going to begin tapering of their mortgage-backed security purchase. So if you didn't know, the Fed, right, which is the federal government, essentially has been artificially keeping interest rates low for the last, I don't know how many years, 10 years at least, by purchasing mortgage-backed securities. So essentially there was a supply and not really much of a demand. Well, they essentially picked up the slack there and have been purchasing like billions of dollars in mortgage-backed securities to artificially keep interest rates low. Well, they had announced, 2 years ago that they were going to begin tapering, but really hadn't. Like they were purchasing still a significant amount of essentially the mortgage notes that come out there, right? So they officially announced yesterday. So we did see a little bit of an uptick late yesterday, and then we're slightly higher today. So you're still, before we were mid to upper twos on like a 30-year fix. We're now upper twos, right? So instead of like 2.7, 2.8, we're now 2.9, pushing 3 on a 30-year fix. So still really low, right? I mean, if we, Michael and I, we've talked about it before. Over the last 50 years, the average mortgage rate is 8 to 8.5%. So being in the 3s or sub 3s, it's still, it's essentially still free money, like we call it. But we may start to see those numbers start to move upwards. And I think the biggest thing that obviously we want to convey as well is that sorry, I had a call coming through. You're going to lose 10% affordability if your interest rate moves a full percentage point, right? So as an example, if you have qualified 2021 at a $400,000 purchase at a rate of 2.875, right? That gives you a principal and interest payment of roughly $1,328, right? And let's just say that's your maximum price. If you've qualified at that $400,000 purchase price, again, let's just say assume 20% down. Next year, you're essentially looking at that same price with a higher interest rate. You're now down 10% affordability. So instead of being able to purchase that $400,000 home or homes in that $400,000 range, you're now down $40,000, right? So now you're looking at $360. If rates went up to 3.875, that bumps you up from the $1,300 a month payment up to $1,500 a month, right? So that's the biggest thing that we want, and obviously the message that we want to convey as well is there is a big difference, right, between those little buckets as we start to see them move in affordability. So if your rate goes up a full percent, you just lost 10% of your purchasing power, right? So if just even from a numbers perspective, if you're looking at $400,000 homes this year in whatever area that you're looking at, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not really liking the homes in that price point. You to put that in perspective, right? If the $400,000 homes weren't meeting your criteria, right, at this particular point at the lower rates, those 360 homes next year are definitely not going to meet the criteria, right? So it's I would definitely jump on it sooner rather than later. Again, not to say that interest rates are going up a full percentage point between now and next year, But the consensus is, you know, flat to slightly higher. So they could still be a little bit higher than they are now.
Well, it's better to have some sort of ballpark idea of what, you know, what can happen. And with prices inflating, and if your affordability is going down, then that's going to be more than a $40,000 swing
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important to consider, especially in our area. That's the difference in a school district, possibly.
Right. Well, so they're saying 20%. There's a potential 20% increase in home values from this year to next year, right?
Yeah.
So 20% increase, right? So that $400,000 home is gonna cost let's do some quick math for me, $80,000 more next year, right? Well, if interest rates go up, now we're talking about there's a 30% difference because 20% increase in home value plus the 10% delta in higher interest rates, right? That you would have lost in affordability. So now that $400,000 home is dropped way down to 320, 310, 320.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's actually a 30% loss of buying power, not a 10% loss, because you got to add in housing going up, and it's predicted to go up. So I guess the point is, if you are looking or close to being in the market, you probably need to push that time frame up for it to be your best financial. You know, nobody's telling anybody to go out and buy. But if you're a person that's looking at your finances and affordability and where you need to be, you got to think it could be a 30% swing in the second quarter of 2022. So, you have anything else to add, Chris?
Oh man, that's all I got.
All right. I think that's some very valuable information. So I appreciate you bringing that. I'm going to talk now about our current real estate trends in our North Texas part of the area. I always like to remind everybody a healthy real estate market is a 6-month supply of inventory. As we talk, we are way below that. Chris and I have talked weeks and weeks in a row now why the inventory is where it's at. Some of it is builders. Inventory is down. I know they're starting to ramp up, but compared to the crash, they're way off. I think, what was it, 5 million homes is kind of our deficit, I think, is the numbers I've heard, so nationally. Anyway, Collin County, looking at our stats, as you see on my chart here, everything's pretty much stayed the same from last week. We were talking before we went on. Most likely this is seasonal, and also we're getting down to such small numbers here that takes very little change to move these much, or excuse me, it takes quite a bit of change to show a lot of change in these. So Collin County sales price to list price was just about 4%. So that number's been coming down since we've started this. It was nearly 6% over asking when we began doing the market of the moment, so probably a month and a half ago. So that is ticking down, which tells you the market's softening a little bit. Got 6 days on market here in Collin County, and we're still at a 1-month supply. So even though prices seem to be softening a little bit, they're not going to soften a lot when there's a 1-month supply. That means there's a lot of traffic for every single home out there, and that's in pretty much every price range. Denton County, as it's been tracking this last month and a half, we've been doing this 103.3%, so just over 3% of list price. Same thing as Collin County. These two counties have been tracking a lot alike. 1-month supply also in Denton County. Get to Dallas County, always the sales to list price has been a little lower than in our previous counties. 100.6, so just barely, just under 1% of list price is what these homes are bringing, and about 8 days on market. And the supply in Dallas County is a little higher, 1.4. And some things can attest to these different things. You got a lot larger price point in Dallas. You can go anywhere from a $40,000 property to a $40 million property. So you have a lot of different things going on in that market. Grayson County, once again, that's the most affordable county in our report that we've been doing. You can get a home there actually a little bit under list price. 9 days on market there, which is still moving very quickly, and the supply in Grayson County a little higher. Chris, you work a lot in these counties. Anything you've got to add?
No, I mean, just, the constant right now is a lot of the outlying counties, right? If you're in the process of purchasing a home that's in the Grayson, even some Denton, like the further, on the opposite side of Denton, not your Friscos that are in Denton County or, Salina, Prosper, that stuff. It's the further, stuff that's a little bit further north is we're still having, 2 to 3 week turn times on appraisals. So it's just one of those things where you need to, obviously be in communication with your realtor partner and lender partner to confirm how long appraisals are taking in those outer areas. The main Collin County and even Dallas County, we're not seeing, or even Fort Worth for kind of the main parts of Fort Worth, we're not seeing big delays. But outside, those Parker County, I mean, they're at like 3 to 4 week turn times. Like the appraiser shortage is
Real.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's almost like the wood shortage last year. Like you can't find an appraiser right now that doesn't have 5,000 orders that they're trying to get through. So just again, be patient. It's
and you're busy.
Yeah.
Man, I'm moving us all over the place. All right, Ryan, we're going to move on to Tarrant County. So we're going to let Ryan Shafer, he works a lot of Tarrant County properties, so he's in that market. So I thought it'd be great to bring you on, get your viewpoint on what's going on in Tarrant and a little bit of Parker County. So go ahead, Ryan, I'll let you take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Mikey. So there's definitely similarities east and west, just with this whole North Texas real estate market. Out west, especially in the Parker counties, what this graphic is capturing is not only just purely residential, but it is agricultural and farmland and places with acreage as well. So that lends to a slightly higher days on market. Maybe with the residential purely, we're thinking more in the 7 to 8 days on market out here. But as you can see with Tarrant County, you're about 5% over list price, 11 days on market. That could be a little bit less, just purely residential. And then around 1 month, maybe a little bit more than 1 month supply in both counties out here. New construction, of course, is going bananas out in this area, all up and down the whole 35 corridor. Spreading west, it's all the way out till Rome now, basically off of 114. So lots of exciting new developments happening out my way, as well as plenty of strong pre-owned residential sales still going on.
Okay.
So we've started to see the new construction timelines shrink down a little bit in regards to contract to close. They still need to have the expectation of, depending on how custom the home is, I'm usually telling people think in the 8 to 10 month range still, and kind of have an open mind when you enter into a new construction deal. But doing a lot of those out here right now, certainly as well.
All right. So if you are interested in that North and West Tarrant County region, get in touch with us. We can get you in touch with Ryan. Obviously, we're going to go out and try to find the best help for you and people that know the market. So Chris, you have anything to add on the Tarrant and that market?
No, I mean, from a program availability, I mean, the limits. One of the thing that you need to be aware of is as you start getting out of the statistical market. I'm trying MSA the market metro whatever it is. Yeah, the typical like DFW, right, which is Dallas, Collin, Tarrant, Denton, Rockwall. Like once you start getting outside of those counties, the loan limits change, right? So like in DFW, which is kind of those 5 counties that I named, you can finance on an FHA loan up to 411,000, right, with 3.5% down. Well, that changes if you go outside of kind of that county, essentially what we call that the MSA, right? So if you're buying, like, Parker County may have a different limit. So if you were originally looking in Tarrant County and you wanted to look at homes in the 425,000 range, knowing that you can do 3.5% down with FHA, well, if you had to go outside of Tarrant County, right, and are now looking in let's say Parker County, that could be different. Now that was just an example. Parker may still be in that statistical, gosh darn, I'm drawing a blank. I forget what it's called. Area. What is it? Market statistical area something? I'm drawing a complete.
You're the lender.
It's stinking. We learn all these acronyms and you forget what they're actually called.
Anyway, I know what you're talking about. You got a group of counties that falls in it, and
that fall within the Dallas Fort Worth Arlington area. So Parker is right. So I just pulled it up. Parker is one of the counties that is in that MSA. But Ryan, give me another county outside, like further out of Parker County. What would that be?
Oh gosh,
Erath, is that?
Yeah, up by Boyd and all that.
Like Erath.
Elath, how do you spell that?
Erath, ERATH.
ERATH. Oh yes, okay, that's a great example. Yeah, Stephenville area, right? So in Erath County, the maximum that you could finance on an FHA loan is $356,000 versus again, in Parker, in Tarrant, in Collin, in Dallas, you can finance up to 411. So that's the thing. Again, it's so important to work with people who know what they're talking about, right? Yeah. Because again, you get your hopes set on a home that's $425,000 in Erath, amazing home, beautiful home, and then you go get under contract, and then at some point it's going to come up, right? Whether your lender knows it up front or not. Once you get in processing and underwriting, they're going to say, hey, let's pump the brakes there. You're going to need a little bit more cash because the most that you can finance on this property is now 356 instead of 411. And if you were planning to do 3.5% down, that's 70 grand, right? That's a huge swing. So those are, again, those are the only things that obviously you want to know whenever you're talking to your real estate agent, and how those county limits can change depending on where you're looking. So that's the biggest thing.
Just another reason to get with a pro.
Hey man, for sure.
All right, I'm going to show a quick video real quick. This is basically just some stats going on in our market. Quotes from the experts. Beautiful. So as we wind up, that video, I think there was some very good quotes in there, not expecting, and it basically kind of follows a lot of things we've been talking about the last several weeks. Most likely the seasonal drawback's not going to happen in 2021. Most likely we're going to stay in a fairly hot housing market. So I think those quotes from other professionals kind of back up that strategy. And then slide we usually finished with, we always talk about there's a lot of news out there floating around on Facebook and on the TV about the housing market and mortgages. And as Chris always tells us, generally it's 7 days late when we hear it on the news. So the best way to get it's from the professionals, the guys, gals that are out there every single day doing it. So Ryan, Chris, myself, we can all be reached for our different expertise. Reach Amy and I here, Chris here, Ryan. I'm gonna get your stuff on here next time. Sorry, bro. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Anything before we shut her down?
I don't think so. Look forward to next week.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
We'll get around to do it again next weekend. Appreciate everybody for joining. We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Adios.
Yeah.